This is my partner, she scoffed, until one arrow took down two enemies and saved her life. General Kelya of the Rhinery was not known for patience, especially not for humans. She paced beneath the crimson banners of her people, her sharp black armor glinting beneath the twin suns. War drums pulsing the ridgelines, echoing the rhythm of her battle-hardened heart. Around her, elite squads of Rhinery warriors stood proud and disciplined, ready to strike at the invaders from the north. Then he arrived, the human. He looked unimpressive, shorter than the Rhinery, less armored, no visible weapons beyond a bow slung casually over his back. His expression was calm, if not outright bored, as if this wasn't the front line of a war but a stroll in a park. This is my partner? Kelya scoffed loud enough for her squad to hear. They sent a human boy with a toy stick? The human didn't flinch. Instead, he gave her a slow, almost amused nod. Name's Kale, he said. I hear you're the one who doesn't bleed. You will if you keep talking, she growled. He smirked, then turned to examine the distant terrain, unbothered by her hostility. They were sent together to scout at a forward position, an ambush point, intelligence claimed. Kelya moved like a blade in the wind, silent and lethal. Kale followed, apparently at ease, humming to himself under his breath. She rolled her eyes and pressed forward. They reached the ravine by nightfall. From the crags above, they could see torches moving below. Enemy scouts. Kelya crouched low, eyes narrowing. 5 soldiers. No more. She raised her hand to signal to kill. But before she could, there was a faint thrum behind her. 2 arrows sliced through the air in a single blink. One pierced the lead soldier's throat. The other ricocheted off a rock and embedded itself in the back of a second soldier's skull. The rest panicked, scattering. Kelya turned sharply, stunned. Kale had already knocked another arrow, standing tall, his eyes fierce and focused. That's 2, he said casually. She didn't speak, not at first. She stared at the scene below, then at him. That was impossible. Kale shrugged. Ricochets are tricky but not impossible. They finished the mission in silence. The remaining scouts were picked off with precision and coordination, Kelya with her blades and Kale with his bow. When they returned to camp, no one questioned their success. But Kelya didn't forget the shot. It replayed in her mind over and over, the arc, the calculation, the speed. The next morning, she found herself walking beside him, not out of duty but curiosity. Where did you learn to shoot like that? Kale was chewing dried fruit. Out east, my village used to hunt in canyons. Had to learn how to make every shot count. Walls bounce sound and arrows. Your people hunt. We conquer. Same skills. Just different stakes. She didn't argue. Over the next few days, they fought together again and again. Each time, Kelya expected him to make a mistake. He never did. He wasn't just skilled, he was patient, efficient, and unlike most Rhinery warriors, he didn't try to impress anyone. He simply was. In the final battle for the valley, Kale stood beside her on the ridge as hundreds of enemy troops marched toward them. We're outnumbered, she said. This may be the last stand. Then I'll make it count. And he did. While Kelya led the charge, slicing through armored bodies like thunder incarnate, Kale perched high above. His arrows fell like rain. Everyone found mark, throat, eye, joint, disabling more than they killed, turned the tide in Kelya's favor. Then, in the chaos, she found herself cornered. 3 enemy champions. One blade snapped in her hand, her other arm bleeding. She braced for the end. Then, thrum. One arrow struck the first enemy in the neck, passed through, and clipped the second in the eye. The third turned, and Kale was suddenly there, using the curved edge of his bow as a blunt weapon, snapping the enemy's jaw with a single strike. You all right, he asked. Kelya could only stare. You saved me. He gave a small smile. Yeah, that's what partners do. After the battle, the camp erupted in celebration. The enemy was routed. The Rhinery held the valley. And Kelya sat alone, her thoughts tangled. When Kale approached, she didn't look up immediately. He sat beside her on the flat rock, quiet. You were incredible, she said finally. I misjudged you. He looked at her sidelong. You sure did. She let out a rare laugh. You're bold. I'm honest. She turned to face him. I meant it, about what I said before. I didn't believe in you. I thought you'd slow me down. Yeah, I figured, but you didn't. There was a pause between them. Stars glimmered above like old songs. You saved my life, she whispered. Kale's voice softened. You've saved mine too. More than once. She stared at him, her pride melting into something warmer, something more vulnerable. I've never fought with someone like you. Not just skill, but calm, grounded. You don't seek glory. Don't need it, he said. I fight to survive. I fight to protect the ones beside me. Kelya nodded slowly. Then, without quite realizing why, she reached for his hand. He didn't flinch. You would make a fine Rhinery, she said. He chuckled. And you'd make a terrible human. She smiled. Weeks later, tales of the arrow that saved the general had spread across camps and cities. Kale refused medals. Kelya ignored all attempt to pair her with noble suitors. One evening, while overseeing repairs in the capital, Kale was summoned by Kelya herself. He arrived in the grand hall of obsidian and flame. She stood waiting in ceremonial armor. You came, she said. Of course. You remember the shot? The double arrow? Kind of hard to forget. She stepped forward, close. Her eyes, usually steel and storm, now held something softer. Rhinery have a bond ritual, she said quietly. We do not pair out of duty, but out of trust. It is sealed not with words, but with action, with life saved and life given. I think I've earned half of that already. You've earned more, she whispered. He smiled. So, you're asking me to be your partner again? Not for a mission, she said. For life. He didn't hesitate. I already said yes, didn't I? She stepped forward, resting her forehead against his. It was the way of her people, of warriors, of soulmates. And in the silent warmth of that contact, no words were needed.